Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com and one of our fantastic true health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 143. I'm so thrilled for today's guest. We have Donnie DeSanti back on the show. Donnie was guest number 58. He was episode 58 on the Learn True Health podcast way back when I was still learning the ropes about how to be a podcaster. I can't believe how many things have happened in the last year. And it was back in September of last year that we had you on the show, Donnie. And you were the first person who I ever spoke to knowingly that was a graduate of IIN, a graduate of the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I remember it very well. I loved your premise and what you taught about how you got off of ADHD medication and how you were able to transform your life and your health through whole foods and through balancing your life, and that you then became a health coach through IIN. And I was so moved by that right after we ended our Skype interview, I immediately looked up IIN, was impressed by their website, called them up. And after I had a conversation with my husband, he's like, go for it. This is totally you. I signed up that day and I've been in their program. It's been about 7 or 8 months. I'm nearing the end of the year-long program, and I have you to thank for it. And thank you so much. And you know what? I keep talking about IIN to the listeners of my show, and in fact several of them have now joined IIN, are thanking me for introducing them. So you're like our grandfather, right? Like it's you've got several generations of health coaches now coming into the world. And you know what, I've been following you on Facebook. Highly recommend my listeners check out lifeinbalancetribe.com, or just search in Facebook Life in Balance Tribe. Great Facebook group to belong to, by the way. Donnie, I have been a big fan of yours now. Loving what you're sharing in your Facebook group. You have great engagement. You ask really great questions of your community to come forward, and you're asking the hard-hitting questions about health and about food and about wellness, but from a standpoint of humor, so we can kind of reflect on ourselves.
Yeah.
I love how you pose it, because you're not like, we're all doomed, there's chemicals everywhere, our food sucks, we're all gonna die of cancer. You pose things in a way that is entertaining. It's really entertaining to be in your Facebook group, but it's great because you make me even reflect and think about my relationship with food and health in a healing way. So I love the work that you're doing. It's a free Facebook group, so listeners, check out lifeinbalancetribe.com. And I have to say, listeners, if you think you'd love to do what Donnie does and you want to join IIN, totally go for it. Make sure you mention the Learn True Health podcast, because I had a conversation with them and said, listen, my listeners are going to be calling you up. Let's get them the best deal possible. And so they will honor the best price for their training possible when you mention Ashley James Learn True Health podcast. Thank you so much, Donnie, for being on the show again. I'm thrilled today to have you here, because we're going to talk about something really important for everyone's health. And before we get into it, just for those who haven't listened to episode 58 and heard your story, can you share with us a little bit about your story and why you decided to become a health coach, and how you transformed your life and got off of ADHD medication, which so many people are on these days?
Yeah, definitely. First, thanks for having me back on. I feel like that was so long ago, right? And you've come so far since then, and I guess you were crawling back down then, and now you're running now. So awesome to be back. So my story has kind of led me to health coaching, and I guess we're all on our own little health journey, so to say. And mine started when I was a kid. I was kind of a nightmare of a child. according to my parents. Just, you know, a lot of energy, a lot of kind of anxiety, stress, and had a tough time in school. And, you know, my teachers eventually started to, I guess, complain about that. They started to, you know, I was getting poor grades, detention, all that stuff. And, you know, some tests were done, and I was diagnosed with ADHD. And from then, I think that was about fourth grade, and I was on medication, steady dose of Ritalin, for a good almost the next 8, 9 years. And I hated it. I hated the way it made me feel. But on paper, it was working because I was getting good grades. My behavior, I guess, improved, meaning that I just sat there. And, you know, my dad even said, like, wow, it's almost like he's comatose in a way. So that's just crazy. But I just hated the way it made me feel. I felt embarrassed. I felt broken. I never really told any of my friends about it. And this went on for years. And then I was kind of influenced once I think it was in high school. A woman came and gave a talk how she pretty much reversed her breast cancer or healed her breast cancer through kind of natural methods. And she started talking about like her diet and the foods she was eating and how foods kind of influence certain like symptoms and things. And it really caught my attention, which was really difficult back then. And that kind of just, you know, struck this spark in me where I was like, listen, if she can change things like cancer, you know, with the food she's eating and in a healthy lifestyle, I have to be able to do that with you know, the medications I'm taking and ADHD. So I did. I kind of went full steam into that and started changing what I was eating. You know, started eating healthier. Started, you know, taking out certain things. Sugar was a big thing for me, and you know that was pretty prominent in my diet. Artificial colors was another one. Artificial flavorings, and just really started adding more healthy foods in. I started meditating. That was a big kind of big game changer. And here I am now, almost, you know, 20 some years later, you know, medication free. So that kind of started it. And then even from that, went through a big kind of family, you know, family issue with my mom getting breast cancer. And, you know, and she was being pulled into the direction of chemo and radiation by the kind of medical community, but her heart was pulling her in other directions. And I was kind of like, Mom, you should talk to this woman that you know, kind of influenced me. And she did, and went that kind of natural, kind of homeopathic route. And here she is, you know, almost 20 years later, cancer free. So,
Oh, love it.
yeah, that just kind of struck the fire in me. And then from there, I always had a passion for health, and people started asking me about it and questions and, hey, what are you doing for that? Or what works for this? And, you know, that kind of led me to IAN and kind of helping others. So here I am today on your show.
That's wonderful. How many people do you think you've directly helped shift and change their life and improve not only their health, but their life in every aspect? Because, you know, what I love about IAN coaching is that what they teach is a health coach is someone who's not only going to say, here, you're missing kale in your diet, or drink more water, and that's it. No, it's about helping that person have more joy, more connection, more relationship, more whatever there is missing in their life, to help them have more of that in a healthy way and balance their diet. Because if you eat all the kale in the world, but you aren't getting enough hugs, or you're not loved, or you don't have, you know, connection, or you're in a toxic relationship, that is, a toxic relationship is just as detrimental as smoking. Right. And so you're really helping people in the full spectrum of their existence. How many people do you think you've helped since you started as like officially become a health coach?
It's a tough call. You know, I have my share of clients that I've helped over the years, and then now in our day and age, you know, we have such a great influence with things like social media, and you can literally affect people that you might not even know, you know, and you're mentioning things like the Facebook group and posting and just all these ways to kind of influence people and connect with people that you don't really know. You know, it's great. You know, I was talking to someone the other day in Australia, you know, how they started juicing or you know, making smoothies, and their eczema's cleared up. You know, it's like, who knows? You know, like Ian talks about the ripple effect. I don't know. I don't know the ripple effect that I've had. I hope it's pretty big.
It feels really good to get out of bed in the morning knowing that you know what you're sharing on social media and getting on interviews and also with your individual clients, that you are having that ripple effect in the world.
Yeah, no, it is great. And it's just we're all in this together. It's we're all kind of on our own health journey, and I think it's great that we have this. We can connect with so many people, and we can kind of all learn from each other as well. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And I love that she's juicing and doing smoothies and her eczema is going away. Why don't MDs prescribe, a whole foods diet for when someone comes to them with eczema? But why are they giving them drugs when a whole foods diet works?
I just had this conversation with a client yesterday, and we started working together almost 3 months ago, and she came to me. She had some high numbers, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, a bunch of stomach issues, and the doctor wanted to prescribe medications, and she told her doctor, like, listen, doc, let me just give me a couple months to try it on my own. She reached out to me. We've been working together for a couple months, and she just had her next physical, and her numbers like all plummeted. They all dropped, and she lost 10 pounds. I mean, we weren't even trying to lose weight. That just happened. She's gotten off some of her medications for like her stomach issues, and the doctor didn't know what to say. He was kind of like, I don't get it. Like, what'd you do? Right? And this was only like 2 months, like 3 months. And he didn't understand. I mean, obviously she was like amazed and shocked, but he was kind of like, I don't get it, because he was so ready to write her like a script, statins, high blood pressure meds. But here, we cleaned up her diet. We added foods that body needs, and we cleaned up those symptoms because you start giving the body what it needs. And here she is, just probably saved her life of, or saved her of a lifetime of meds, I should say. So.
It's so true, because once you get on them, then you're stuck. You're stuck in that position where, oh, I've got to regulate my blood pressure artificially, and I have to regulate my cholesterol artificially.
Yeah.
And it's really scary. People don't often look into what these meds actually do. If they understood how they work to manipulate the body, they would be much less likely to make it their first choice to get on these drugs and make it like the last ditch effort, right, to get on these drugs. And that's why NDs, for example, still have the ability to prescribe drugs. They would just rather like use it as the last resort and help someone, naturally, because we can. This is another thing, is that MDs don't encourage, or many of them don't even know or don't encourage their patients to seek the healthiest, most natural route to reversing high blood pressure, because in their mind, oh, you have high blood pressure because you have a heart or because you have blood vessels, so let's just control it with a drug. Whereas there's a reason, there's a root cause why that person or that body is crying out with high blood pressure. It could be a mineral deficiency. It could be, not enough water. It could be, not enough movement in their life, too much stress, and all those, you still have those underlying causes. If you put a drug on top of it, the drug just is suppressing the symptom, but the underlying causes are still doing more damage to the body.
Right. Yeah, we're just applying Bandaids, really.
Yeah.
And we're not really getting to like, we're not really healing. We're not getting to like the root cause. We're just kind of placing Bandaids on things, and that it's a shame. It shouldn't have to be like that. And listen, medicine plays its role, but like you said, it shouldn't be like the first, okay, just take this. It'd be like, okay, why is your blood pressure rising? Why do you have high cholesterol? Why do you have all these ulcers in your stomach? Okay, like these are questions that we need to be asking, not just like, well, you're that age. That's just part of life, right? It's like, why aren't we aging gracefully and with vitality, right? Like we just get to a certain age, we're like, well, that's just the hand I'm dealt. That's part of aging. It's like, no, it's not actually. So, we should be asking those underlying questions, like, okay, why did I get this? Why am I getting this? Why is this happening? Why are these symptoms here? And then we try everything we can. We change up the diet. We look what we're eating, stress in our life. Are we sleeping? Are we moving? And then at the end of all that, then we can maybe be like, okay, here's where medicine could fit into that.
So what are the barriers to starting on this new healthier way of eating. So I think a lot of people are caught up in their life and they go, I don't have enough time to cook, or I don't know how to cook, or I don't like vegetables. I don't like the taste of healthy food, or, it's just so much easier to go through the drive-through. And I was just talking to my friend who said that one of her doctors does not eat all day long. She drinks coffee all day long, doesn't have breakfast, drinks coffee all day long, and then is so stressed out at night that she just cooks dinner for her husband and her son, and she just binges on cheesecake. And that's her life, and she's an MD.
Oh,
And when my friend, who's also actually going through IAN, when my friend said to this doctor, well, could you try drinking water during the day, or do a smoothie in the morning, or she was trying to give her, see if there was room to fit in a new healthy habit. And the woman just is not willing to, because she has in her mind this idea that she doesn't have enough time, that she can't do it. She doesn't have enough time. And
yeah.
and so for those people who feel like their plate is already full and there's no room to change, but they know they want to change. And it's kind of like, where do we get off the wheel, like we're those little rats running in the wheel. Where can we kind of get a new habit in place that dominoes, into the rest of their life. So
Right.
when you're dealing with a client who, because I'm sure most of my listeners are so busy, they're probably listening to this while they're driving somewhere, or exercising or something, what do you first do with a client when they come to you and they're like, I don't even have enough time to see you, how give us some guidance so we can start to set up our life in a way that is healthier.
Yeah, no, it's a good, it's a great topic, because I feel like this is, I find this is one of the biggest challenges for people is time. We all kind of struggle with this idea of time, not enough of it. And, it definitely affects our health, right? So I actually just wrote something about this the other day, again, kind of striking up conversation about it. And when it comes to like making healthier changes, I feel like, well, first off, it's habits that we have, right? And there's this idea that habits are tough to break. So there's this certain, I guess, subconscious or mental thing, like in a way, we don't want to give up these habits because we're comfortable with them, so because change is always, it can be a little frightening. You're like changing something, right? So it's like, it's new, it's awkward, we're not comfortable with it. So there's that kind of resistance, right, to making, to new changes, right? And at the same time, we have this idea of that we don't have enough time to make those changes, right? And I think people get caught up that they need more time than they actually do. I'm just going to say it right off the bat that I do feel like we waste a lot of time. Okay, and a lot of my clients, when we sit down and talk about it, I mean, I put it right in front of them, like, okay, what are you doing from this to this? And there's a lot of fluff and wasted time in there that they could be doing something. And we do have this idea that we need more time to make a healthy change, right? Like we feel like we need hours to maybe cook, or we need some, hours to get moving or get some exercise. When in actuality, you could do a lot with just 10 or 15 minutes. The average meal takes about 20 minutes to make, right? And that's not really, not counting cooking time, depending on what you make, but prep time, maybe standing over the stove a little bit. Average about 20 minutes.
And what's cool? I got to interrupt though. What's cool about cooking whole foods is it cooks a lot faster than packaged food.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many different ways to cook things, right? Or not even cook things. So if you just had 20 minutes, you'd be surprised like what you can kind of put together in such a short amount of time. And so that's one of the things, like when I'm working with clients, like we look at like the little things that they can do, whether it be, hey, first thing in the morning, squeeze some lemon in some water and just drink that first thing in the morning. Like how much time would that really take? Nothing, right? But you'd be surprised like what that creates momentum, right? So it creates kind of subconsciously accomplishment, and we feel good about it. Right. So that kind of like, okay, I did that. Okay, what else can I do? Something like, again, maybe just preparing something quick in the morning where it's a healthy choice. It doesn't take much time at all. Or, in between lunch, you take like a 10-minute walk, just to get some steps in and move and circulate your blood, right? Or something as simple as like going to bed early. That doesn't take time. You're just being like a half an hour, getting to bed half an hour earlier. Like that's not a big chunk of your day. So these little increments in the day can start to add up to big results, and they can start to add up to new habits, because as you're adding new habits, you're crowding out old habits, right? So that's always my kind of approach, like, and for your listeners is like, find like one thing that you could do that's like healthy, right? And just add that to your day and just focus on that. And you'd be surprised what that does kind of mentally, how that just creates momentum and this kind of feeling of success, and how that can kind of bleed into other things. And you'll find that like you really don't need a lot of time to make big changes, right? So that's kind of my approach with it.
Yeah, I like that, because it's not about the big change. When we watch shows like The Biggest Loser, it's like they're making huge changes. They're leaving their family for months on end.
Yeah.
They're working out 8 hours a day. There's no representation of their normal life during that time. It is a huge change. It's like joining the military tomorrow. You're going to boot camp.
Yeah, and look at the results of The Biggest Loser too. I think it's about almost 75% of the contestants all gain the weight back and more. Some are even gaining, pretty much all the contestants are gaining the weight back and then some. So it just goes to show you that extreme kind of change your life dramatically is not working. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and it takes little by little. Even as a health coach myself, I'm still learning and adding things and fine tuning things, right? So it doesn't have to be this dramatic like lifestyle overhaul in like a week time.
Right. And another thing is to think about, how did we get here in the first place? So let's say someone is overweight and has diabetes, or someone has high blood pressure and hormones are off balance, or someone has eczema and stress, or, whatever the things that you've accumulated. It wasn't giant changes for the most part in your life that, like, you didn't go from being a vegan to eating, Kentucky Fried Chicken, like that caused your health problem. It was slow, for a better word, negative things over time, tiny negative things added up that accumulated to the health problems we have. And the best way to do it on an organic level is make slow, small positive changes to turn it around. And so we're not left, on a psychological level, like rebelling or feeling anxious about it or feeling deprived because of it.
Right.
And then or sabotaging ourselves by taking on too much and then failing, going, see, there I go again, I suck. Yeah. And I've done that one before. And to catch myself and go, hey, one small change at a time, master that one small change, move on to the next one, and then pat myself on the back with each one. We don't set out to to run triathlons or do triathlons without ever having learned to swim.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's true.
So we were talking a little bit before we started recording that, one of the things we wanted to talk about was a whole foods diet and why it's so important, and less sugar, why that's so important. And I've been on sort of very organic, like natural kind of feeling of a detox where I go completely sugar free for bouts at a time. And at first I thought, I panicked. I thought, oh man, this is going to suck. I'm going to crave it. I'm going to feel hungry all the time. And it turns out that when I go totally sugar free and just consumed lots of vegetables and healthy fats and healthy protein, I actually have more energy than when I'm eating sugar. Why is that?
Yeah. It's shocking, right? I've seen this time and again with my clients, and I feel like when we first start working together, they're always like, don't take my sweets away, right? Or don't take my ice cream away or my chocolate or whatever it may be. And I tell them I don't, but it's funny to see over time as you add these kind of real foods back into the diet, how these cravings, they start to kind of dissipate. And maybe this kind of love that we had for these certain kind of, these certain foods, they're just not there as much anymore. They don't have a stronghold anymore because we start to give our bodies what it needs, right? We start to give our bodies the information that it needs to thrive and to run efficiently. And a lot of times these cravings we get are really just signals from the body that we are deficient in things, and that it's kind of telling us like, hey, you're not giving us what we need, and this is what our body needs, right? This is real foods. This is information, and our bodies know, is like something like our ice cream, or chocolate or candy or something like that. That's a source of energy. It's a quick source of energy, high in sugar, calories, so our body can use that, but it's the wrong source. So we get this big spike in energy maybe, but what goes up must come down. And then we're on this constant roller coaster of cravings, right? So, but when we kind of satisfy that need, the nutrient levels, those cravings aren't there anymore, because the body's like, okay, we're good, right? And that's probably what you were kind of feeling. You don't really have that kind of strong cravings anymore. Your energy's up, you feel good, and that's really that's our normal state.
Wonderful. How do we start to do that? Like ho- someone who's maybe never done this before, never, considered or incorporated a whole foods diet. Um, can you paint the picture of what it looks like?
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's basically what I do is, and my approach is different than the standard, diet model, right? So you have right now people are like, um, okay, I'm trying to get healthy. Okay, let me cut out, um, all these foods that we all know are unhealthy, right? Like ice cream or whatever. I keep using ice cream, but we know that, right? Like people don't need to hire me to tell them like, hey, that's bad for you, right? So they know that, right? So they right away they're like, okay, I'm not going to eat that anymore, right? So now we get into like this restrictive mentality, and now you're playing like this mind game kind of willpower game, right? And that can only last for so long, all right? Because that's like a muscle, and you're just going to like stress it out. So my approach is do the opposite. Like, okay, we already know that stuff's not going to work, right? So, but I'm more concerned like the stuff you're not eating, right? Like, so how do we get more of that good stuff in? Like, how do we start adding it into your life, right? Like, let's start with things like the basics, like things like fruits and vegetables, right? We know those are healthy, but are you consuming any of them? And we start with ones that like, hey, what do you like, right? Like, okay, eat as much of that as you can, right? Okay, you're good with that. Let's try something new. Okay, and now we keep adding in, and the great thing is like there's no focus on that other food, right? There's no focus on like, hey, did you not eat any junk food this week? It's like I don't really care, right? Like I'm just all about like, okay, let's get as much of this good stuff into your diet in any way possible that you can, and let that other stuff just kind of fall to the wayside. I tell people, I'm like, listen, I don't care if you need to like fry this stuff or dip it in chocolate, like just get more of this real food in your diet in any way you can, right? And then that other stuff, you're like, wow, you see people like, wow, I you know what, I haven't had whatever in like 10 weeks, so I
Yeah.
think that's the approach we need to start taking.
Right, you're really removing barriers to entry. Like just let them, whatever level they're comfortable with, get those vegetables in, and then once their plate all of a sudden is now half vegetables where it used to like never be vegetables, that's going to start to change their body, and then they're going to
Of
start
course.
like getting curious about other vegetables. And um yeah, I've gotten to the point where I mean I love vegetables, love the flavor, but I remember a time when vegetables didn't taste that great to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really interesting how our taste buds change. Have you had clients tell
Oh,
you?
geez. Yeah, yeah. I just had this woman. No, no. I'm sorry. There's a guy. We just started a couple weeks ago. Um, Loathe broccoli. I mean, literally, he went on a rant for like a couple minutes. Now, him and broccoli are like arch enemies. They hate each other. I'm like, all right, I get it. Right. So, of course, I'm like, okay, where did this stem from? Because a lot of times we have some people, they have this aversion to certain vegetables or foods, and when you trace it back, they're like, I really don't know why I don't like it. And sometimes I'm like, have you ever even had it? And they're like, no, I never had. So I'm like, okay, so you can't really say you don't like it because you never had it. But his aversion to broccoli ran deep, and we just started to kind of incorporate this kind of process, and just adding more, and finally I get like this text from him like, I had broccoli last night. It wasn't that bad. And And then I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, where did this come from? He's like, yeah, I really don't know why I didn't like broccoli. And a lot of times it's just, it could be, a situation that just we hated, or we hated the way it was cooked, or, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I was talking about Brussels sprouts the other day. Why, when growing up, there was like this stigma around Brussels sprouts,
Yeah.
and being like force fed just Brussels sprouts. But now they're like the most popular veggie. They're freaking delicious.
Yes.
I'm like, where were you my whole childhood? You know, so I don't.
I bought some Brussels sprouts. They're sitting in my fridge. I'm waiting to like roast them with some garlic because
Oh,
of that
oh,
post, by the
oh,
way.
thanks.
When I was a kid, I don't know if you know this, but so my mom and I got like totally on a health kick when I was 6 years old because we were both really sick, and my mom found a naturopath. And so overnight, I just remembered like overnight she did the mad, you know, cleansing of the house. No more dairy, no more sugar, no more
Right, yeah,
grains.
yeah.
And overnight, all of a sudden, we're eating like dry chicken breast and vegetables
Oh,
24/7.
jeez.
And she would send me to school. I was like in junior high, which is like the worst
Yeah, yeah.
years of your life when it's like, the hormones are raging, and it's all about like appearances, right? And she sends me with a grocery bag, like a plastic grocery bag with in the Ziploc bag is leftover Brussels sprouts, and in another Ziploc bag is like hard boiled egg, and both those things can actually smell like the
Yes.
sulfur, right? The sulfur
Yeah.
can smell through the Ziploc bag.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know why my mom didn't get me a lunchbox. Like, it didn't occur to her that, at least give me a lunchbox. So I had to sit there with basically eating with my hands, egg or chicken and Brussels sprouts, and it smelled so bad, and
Yeah,
I was so
you
embarrassed.
weren't trading lunches that day, right?
And no, never. And all the kids got to eat like Nutella sandwiches on
Yeah.
Wonder White Bread. Wonder Bread had never passed my lips. Like, it just looked like I was in Willy Wonka land, and I had to drink the kale smoothie while everyone else got to like eat Willy Wonka's candy.
I know.
And so that was a big turning point for me. I was like, screw this healthy food. Give me some of that fries at the cafeteria. But Brussels sprouts were like that pivotal moment in my life where
Yeah.
I said, screw healthy food. So,
Oh,
so
geez.
funny that you were like, Brussels sprouts are delicious, and they are, and I love them. And they're great for helping to regulate hormones and detoxification. Like, there's just so many good things in
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you're back in a relationship with Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
Yes, it's good. It's good to hear. Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff. We missed out, you know?
Totally, totally. If only my mom had figured out how to do like a lunchbox and make it look appetizing. Which
I
now I'm
know.
so happy. I've I don't have any negative emotions around it. I can laugh about it, but I can take that and now pass it on to my child or my children. So, my son will have amazingly delicious looking, healthy, snacks and foods, and all the kids will be like, "Can I have some of those carrot sticks? That looks really
Yeah, yeah.
good."
No, it's
Yeah.
great. No, that's how it should be. Yeah. I think we've come a long way in cooking, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cooking good food. I think we've evolved with that as well. So, these foods don't have to taste, bad. They can be enjoyable and actually delicious, right? So, I see it all the time. People are like, yeah, I had some carrots today and, some raw kind of greens. I'm like, well, you're not a rabbit, flavor that stuff up. Like put some spices on. Spices have health benefits as well. Like
Mm.
flavor those foods up and make it delicious. Make you so you can't wait to eat it and you have cravings for that stuff. That's always great to hear when clients are like, I actually have cravings for veggies. Is that weird? And I think that's how it should be. We should be craving real food.
So, give us some ideas of. I know you've got some great recipes on your website with DonnieDeSanti.com, and the link to that and everything you do is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast on LearnToYourHealth.com. Give us some ideas. How can we spice that up and make a more whole foods diet taste good? And also, I'd like you to just, for those who don't know, what does a whole foods diet actually mean? Could you clarify
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, yeah. So that doesn't mean you need to shop at Whole Foods. Okay. Always put that
Or
misnomer there.
Amazon.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazon,
or Amazon
right?
now. Yes, yes. No, so Whole Foods, what that means is is we're eating real foods. Okay, and what does that mean? Okay, really, the name of the game is to eat as much food as you can that has come as close to the earth as possible. Okay, now not to sound all hippy dippy-ish on there, but really what that is like we want to be eating food that's as close to the earth. Okay, so for instance, like we've been talking about Brussels sprouts, right? So Brussels sprouts. Okay, it's not often that you see how a Brussels sprout grows, but that Brussels sprout grows, it's like a stalk, right? And there's these little nubs on it. And, whoever grows it, they take those nubs, they put them in some bag or whatever, they ship them to the supermarket. And from the supermarket to your kitchen, okay, and then maybe in the stove or however you cook it, right? So there's like one step, right? It's going from like being picked to being transported to your kitchen, and then you cook it, and that's it. Now take that same thing as an example as maybe I'm trying to think like bread excuse me, bread or a bagel or pizza. Like think about all the steps that in between to get to that final product, right? Like you're taking wheat and processing it and making it into a dough, and and you're cooking that. Who knows what else is in that dough, right? Or that bread, right? And then the final product is a lot more steps, from that original kind of food. Does that make sense?
Right. And it kind of freaks me out. Like, those, the TV show, I think it's supposed to be for kids, but there's like a TV show. I grew up in Canada watching this show. They have a very similar show in the States, but it's basically like how things are made.
Yes.
And you can find it like very different renditions of it on YouTube. But like the other day I watched the one how they make pianos or how they make tubas or how they make bowling balls. Right. Really cool. And then even on like Reading Rainbow, like the old reruns, they'll have like how this is made. But when you see how food is made, like how hot dogs are made, like seriously, you need to see this. You need to see how the food that's in your fridge is made. And what freaks me out, like not only the pink sludge or whatever they call it, or the chemicals that are put, the emulsifiants, like the fact that in ice cream, just to get back to insulting ice cream, that if in ice cream they put antifreeze, it's now I post this on Facebook one day, and I had someone defending ice cream saying, but it's food grade. This is food grade antifreeze, because if you make your own ice cream, it's rock solid, right? But if you buy ice cream, you can put like immediately from the freezer, you can put your spoon in it and you can scoop it out. It's not like frozen like an ice cube, because there's antifreeze in ice cream. Now it's food grade antifreeze, right? Apparently it's like it's an extract of fish or I don't know, something, but there's antifreeze in ice cream, and like that kind of freaks me out. So if you think about and why it's not listed as an ingredient, and this is what freaked me out, is that if the chemical that they're adding to your food, so this is not a whole food. So Whole Foods doesn't have chemicals. It's one ingredient. Like this is broccoli, ingredient broccoli, right? Not like may contain nuts, may contain, no, it's just broccoli. Right. But when you're buying ice cream, for example, they do not have to list the antifreeze on the ingredients because it is considered industry standards. So there's chemicals or additives in your hot dog or chicken nugget that are not listed in the ingredients because it is considered part of the industry's standards for how they make that food, like how they extract or emulsify meat off of the bone to make the pink sludge. There's like all kinds of crazy stuff. Like my friend who worked at Swiss Chalet, which is a very famous chain of chicken restaurants, sort of, it's semi-fast food. It's like sit-down fast food kind of in Canada. And he told me that, he says, never eat the chicken here again. I just, he works there, and it's considered healthy because you're going in for a chicken dinner. They actually like marinate the chicken in some like food grade bleach, basically, when they first get it into the kitchen. And he's like, this has like skull and bones on it, like, and this is like healthy, and they don't have to list it in their list of ingredients because it's part of the food process. So just to go on my rant about processed foods, you don't know how many hands have touched it. Like what you said with Whole Foods, the farmer touched it, or the farmers touched it. the people transporting it touched it, the people in the grocery touched it, and then you grabbed it. Like, that's it.
Right.
Like, there's,
Yeah, yeah.
whereas if it's a hot dog, there might be hundreds of employees and hundreds of steps for each chemical. In any way could mess up. One of my friends, moms used to work at a very famous meat plant like Tyson or something like that.
Right.
And she was the food regulator, so she's the one that went around and like checked the safety. So if there was rat droppings, they had to basically shut the entire plant down. If there was a fridge that was too warm, they had to completely eliminate. They had to throw away all that meat. And she said almost on a daily basis she found things that were against the food code, and she'd report it, and they wouldn't do anything about it. And she would speak up, and she eventually was fired because she was too good at her job, too good at finding things that were wrong. And so she says, don't ever eat the meat from XYZ plant. And I'm not going to mention it because I don't feel like getting sued. But so more processed, the more likely there is for, like you're saying, to back up your point, the more hands, the more likely it is that they could mess up. And so that's why another reason why Whole Foods diet is great, because that's broccoli, you clearly recognize its ingredients, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you want to recognize all the ingredients you're eating. I mean, that's really the name of the game. And the more we could do that, just the more it's going to clean up our diet, right? It's just you're just gonna by doing that, you're just going to clean up your diet. It's kind of like the luck of the draw. It's just like, okay, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to eat it. Okay, you're not eating that's like one more non-real food that you're eating,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's less antifreeze that you're eating. Right?
Yeah, but it's naturally derived, so it's okay. It's
Yeah,
it's food grade antifreeze.
I don't know any antifreeze trees or plants out there. I don't take that. I take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and you know what? For those who are like, but don't take away my ice cream, you should like go to Costco when they do the Vitamix presentations and have them make you their version of ice cream, because that's
for your listeners, I am on a kick right now with banana nice cream. Have you tried this yet?
No, oh my gosh. Is that machine that you freeze your bananas and then you put the banana in the machine and it turns it into ice cream?
Yeah, you don't even need this machine. I'm using a blender.
You're using a blender. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you just freeze bananas, right? Peel them first, okay? I've had clients make this mistake. Just peel them first, cut them in chunks, and then when you want some ice cream, literally throw it in a blender. You throw a little bit of liquid in just to get it going, maybe a little vanilla if you want that flavor, and you just keep pulsing it and running it till it takes a couple times, but then it just clicks and it makes it into this creaminess, it's like Mr. Softy ice cream. It's so good, and it's just bananas, real food.
Yeah, real food. Love it. Yes, and then with the Vitamix, they basically pulsate ice and fruit. And you could even put vegetables in. So, and my son loves it. Like, we put carrots and spinach and orange and ice. And that's it. And then we just pulse it. And if we want to be, you can add a little bit of sweetener like honey or agave or stevia, whatever you want, or a bit of juice. And it is actually creamy because the Vitamix is so powerful that it's not like grainy, like gritty, like you don't even notice that it's ice. It really feels like ice cream. Yeah, it's really cool. So there's ways to, again, and that's Whole Foods, and that takes 5 minutes in the kitchen, and now you're not eating, God knows what that's in your ice cream. Yeah, antifreeze, exactly.
Yeah. See, you just upgraded your lifestyle right there by eating better ice cream.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I like about this diet is I like to show off. So for those who like to have their friends over for dinner, you can kind of like, I make these great Whole Foods meals, and I've had my friend Mike and Jen over so many times, and Mike goes, "These are so good," and he's like leaning forward, shoveling the food in his mouth, going, "Oh my gosh, what'd you put in this?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, that's broccoli," and. And that is kale, and that's lentils.
Yeah.
And my friend Jen looks at me and goes, how did you make this? Because I can't get him to eat vegetables at home.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's like, well, I throw in some ghee, because I don't do butter, and I just play with seasoning as much as possible. And I'm not perfect at it, but I get really excited when people come over. I'm like, I'm going to show off what Whole Foods looks like, you know, because people are so used to the pizza or the packaged foods. So yeah, can you share some recipes with us that would help people to better understand what it looks like to eat a Whole Foods diet?
Yeah, well, geez, I think we do a whole show on this. It really comes down to, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be like this five-star chef. I always kind of tell that to my clients. It's just about using real foods and like I said, just flavoring them up with a couple of spices. For veggies, I feel like there's a stigma around veggies just being steamed, so and nothing on them, no fat or anything, and that's just boring. I would never recommend that to someone. So try different ways of cooking them, whether you roast them, putting some a healthy fat in there like olive oil or like you mentioned ghee or even butter, and flavor them up with some spices, salt and pepper, sea salt. Okay, it amazes me how many people don't cook with this stuff, right? Like no chef cooks without seasoning their food, right? And people are trying to like get healthy by eating like bland food, so work on your spice cabinet if you have, and I see this a lot. It's just like get a couple of spices that you like, things like maybe some dried oregano, things like cumin and turmeric and, some spice like paprika or cayenne. You'd be surprised just a couple of sprinkles of these things, how much it can kind of flavor up your food. And trying different cooking methods, try, making like a stew sometimes or making a simple soup. Soups are so easy. It's like a liquid and a bunch of veggies and maybe a meat. And you can just, slowly simmer that and you have a delicious, tasty, nutritious meal, right? And it's like a one pot wonder cleanup. Or throwing something in the oven, some meat, some veggies, just roasting them, real easy cooking technique. And, it doesn't take a lot, and you throw a couple fresh herbs in there. Fresh herbs is another thing. Those should always be on hand because they really flavor up your food and they're so good for you. So there's so many different cooking techniques and don't be afraid to try things. I feel like that's a big thing too. People are afraid to make a mistake, or they feel like it's going to be inedible. More than likely, it's not going to be inedible. You might be like, it's okay, but that's how you learn. And the more you try, the better you get. And then once you get like a couple recipes, and you only need a couple, right? Like the average family only has about like 6 recipes that's kind of like on the rotation, right? I remember growing up, it's like if I had, I don't know, like chicken and broccoli on Tuesday, more than likely I was going to have it the next week too. So if you get a couple recipes that you're really good at and you just kind of put them in the rotation, and then you can like add to them or, switch things up and kind of build off that, then you're like on a nice path and you kind of have some good momentum going on in the kitchen.
I hope you're enjoying this interview so far. We'll get back to it in a minute, but first, I wanted to share a message that has been on my mind to bring to you. I started this journey because I wanted not only to help you experience amazing health, but I wanted to find it myself. And what better way to find something than to learn from experts and also to teach it? Through this last year of doing the holistic podcast known as Learn True Health, I have had the honor of connecting with over 100 experts in the field of natural medicine. One thing that's really inspired me is there's a group of people, in fact, it's the fastest growing career field in the United States right now, and that is health coaches. I didn't really appreciate them or understand what their role was until after I started interviewing enough of them. And I found that health coaches have an amazing ability to impact someone's life far beyond what medical doctors are doing right now. You see, you might see your medical doctor once you're already sick, right? The old paradigm of healthcare is to go to a doctor when you're sick, wait till your body breaks down or show signs of symptoms, and then you need a doctor's intervention. Not many people, now maybe you do because you're smart and because you're a Learn True Health listener, you probably do this to some extent. go to a doctor on a regular basis and get great health advice from them? Do you go to your doctor and they say, hey, I noticed that you could really use more vitamin C and I think you should eat this. And I really think that based on your body weight and based on your blood work that a few more minutes of cardiovascular exercise. And here, why don't I go ahead and show you how to do it? Why don't I go ahead and, I've got some recipes that are really going to help you because I see in your blood work that you could really benefit from these nutrients. Why don't I go ahead and spend an hour with you and help you do that so we can get you on the right track? No medical doctor does that. And if they do, God, hold on to them and definitely tell everyone about them. I don't know any medical doctor that has the ability to sit down with you on a regular basis and not only find out about your lab work, but also find out about your health in every aspect of your life. You see, if you have a really, really stressful job and you have no outlet for that, that can bleed into other areas of your life and lead to ill health, right? So what I'm learning about health coaches is that they help their clients to gain balance and holistic health in every area of their life. They come to you wherever you are, whether you're still eating McDonald's and you're 400 pounds and you're sitting on the couch, whether you're driving a truck and you just don't have time for exercise and you really do want to eat healthy, but you're always like 100 miles away from any Whole Foods, or whether you're already gluten-free and already eating organic and you could just really use some extra advice to take your health to the next level. Wherever you are, a health coach meets you where you are. And then what they do is they slowly add step by step the most powerful but manageable changes slowly that make the biggest difference in your life. And they help you to find out what it is that you need most that's going to make the biggest difference in your life. And so the more I learn about health coaches, the more I realize that we need more health coaches in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, in Asia, in Australia. We need more help, this kind of help where someone can be our health advocate, where they can hold our hand, where they can take the time to slowly teach us the things that we wish our parents and our grandparents had taught us. The things that we wish we had learned in high school, the things that should be taught in home ec, right? And unfortunately aren't. The lessons that we want to learn so that we can pass these lessons on and these healthy habits on to our children and to our future generations. Now is the tipping point. You may have heard the scary statistic that our children's generation now has a smaller life expectancy than we do. Can you imagine if we're meant to live to be, for example, 75 years old, our children might only live to be 68? This is very scary. The fact that diabetes and prediabetes, 1 in 3 people have blood sugar issues. The scary statistic that 1 in 2 men in their lifetime will experience cancer. 1 in 3 women in their lifetime now will experience cancer. These are statistics that need to be stopped, and only you can do that. So, if you're the type of person that knows that you could benefit from it, I highly recommend checking out a health coach. Now, I am actually in a health coaching program, becoming a certified health coach, and in 6 months I will be a certified health coach. And I am absolutely loving this program. I'm halfway through the program, and I'm sending this message to you not only for those who want to make changes in their life, but I know there's a listener out there who is looking for a new career, who's looking to shift their life. Now, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition was started over 25 years ago by Joshua Rosenthal. You can go back and listen to my interview with Joshua Rosenthal, which, he is my hero. He's absolutely amazing. I recommend listening to his interview. He started this actually for women. Now, he has men in his course, and I love seeing and hearing that men are getting into the health coaching field. But Joshua actually started the Institute for Integrative Nutrition for women because he saw that there was an imbalance in the workforce, that women had less opportunities 25 years ago to be able to live their passion and be mothers and maybe work from home. And as a health coach, you can do that. You can still be a mom. You can still have a career. You can still be a full-time mom. You can still homeschool. Whatever you want to do, you can fit health coaching into your life, however you see fit. It's amazing. What I also love about Institute for Integrative Nutrition is that they also have a business courses. So not only are you learning how to be an exceptional health coach, but you're also learning how to hit the ground running however you want, whether you want to do full-time or part-time, whether you want to take on one client a week, a month, whether you want 100 clients. They teach you how to structure your business, how to market yourself in a way that comes from your heart, comes from authenticity, comes from integrity. I have never been more inspired by an institute in my life. So for the listener out there that has been seeking, that has been looking for their life purpose, that when they think about the possibility of helping someone, of helping people, they get teary-eyed. You know, every time I think about people who are hurting, that I could impact their life, that I could help them, I just start crying. Tears of joy and inspiration. I want to help people. And so if you, like me, are inspired by helping people and you really are passionate, you don't have to know anything. You don't have to know anything about health. You don't have to be an expert. That's fine. You don't have to have a degree. You can start as a student with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and they'll teach you everything you need. And you can do it in your spare time, do the course in your spare time while you're a full-time mom, or while you're working full-time, or whether maybe you're still a student. I love how they really organize, and they spent years. I mean, they've been teaching it for 25 years. They've organized the material. It's all online, so you can be anywhere in the world. There's students all around the world. So if you're the listener that I'm talking to about wanting to shift your career or add to your career, maybe you're already in the health field, you just want to increase your knowledge, or maybe you just have a calling and you want to try it out, please check out the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Go to their website. It's IIN, Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Check them out, give them a call, and ask for, you can get a download to their course, their curriculum. You can even do one of their classes for free to check it out, to see if it's a match for you. When you go to enroll, mention you heard it from me, Ashley James, Learn True Health podcast, because I have aligned myself with them to make sure that you get a special. I want to hook you up. Any of my listeners who go through their program get a special from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And also, I want you to tell me. I want you to email me, ashley@learntruehealth.com. Join our Facebook group. Just search Learn True Health in Facebook. Join our group. I want you to contact me and tell me you're going through the program. I want to support you in your success. If you have any questions or you just want to tell me how amazing it is, I have some great listeners that have already gone or have begun going through their program, and they all love it. And I love creating this community. So if this is something you think would be interesting to you, even if anything I've mentioned is remotely interesting, if you go to learntruehealth.com, on the sidebar, you'll see halfway down, just scroll halfway down, you'll see that there's in the widget section a place where you can click to get more information about the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or just go to their website. Their website so impressed me because you see all of the teachers that teach their course, and you begin to recognize their names, and you realize that these are all sort of heroes in the holistic health field, and you can't believe that you're going to be learning from them. It's been a dream come true, and I've had some of their teachers on the show already, and I'm going to have more. I've scheduled some to be on the show in the future. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my message. I wanted to take the time to give you this information because I know that there are some listeners out there that are looking for this change now. And they're looking to shift their career to help people, that they genuinely want to make a difference. We want to shift the message from the old paradigm of wait till you get sick and then go to a doctor and get a pill, to shifting our lifestyle so we're living the most authentic, healthy lifestyle possible, so that we can have a life that is vibrant, that is full of energy. We can have health freedom, right? Don't we want to wake up feeling like we're 18 years old every day, no matter what? And we can have that. So if you want to have that for yourself, get a health coach. Definitely get an IAN health coach. If you want to learn how to do that so you can do it for yourself and help others, definitely check out taking the Institute for Integrative Nutrition's health coaching program. It's a certification program. I highly recommend it. And if you have any questions, absolutely feel free to email me. Excellent. Well, enjoy the rest of this interview. Nice. And so could you maybe paint a picture of an example of some breakfasts, an example of some lunches, an example of some dinners and some snacks, just to kind of
Sure.
help us get this for those who are who don't really, I think a lot of people don't realize how much processed food they eat
Yeah.
and how easy it would be to eat whole foods. So just paint that picture for us.
Okay. Yeah, so breakfast can range, and I'm kind of pulling kind of from my, I guess, day to day, but it can be something like eggs in the morning. Again, just a real food. But I don't just keep it to that. I'll add just like a plate of like veggies with it. Like I love just like sautéed veggies or even some leftover roasted veggies with that egg. Maybe a side of avocado with that, right? Or maybe just cooking up some like a whole grain, like some oatmeal or something like that. Real easy to cook up, but flavoring it up, adding things like some fresh berries to it, some spices like cinnamon or nutmeg to it, maybe some coconut flakes, right? So we're just like upgrading the taste, and you can maybe sweeten it up with some a natural sweetener like maple syrup or honey. And then for lunch, you can get into things like maybe a piece of meat with again, like a side veggie or just some, some fresh greens with, any kind of dressing, maybe a little kind of like some lemon juice and olive oil or vinegar, like apple cider vinegar, right? Like that can be pretty simple. And dinner is great. It can be great. Again, maybe a piece of fish or a piece of meat, and then making kind of like your veggies like the star of the show. Such an assortment of veggies to choose from, whether they be roasted or sautéed. Maybe a little bit of carbohydrates or starch with that, like some whole grain, some whole grains like jasmine rice or basmati or wild rice or quinoa. Or maybe just some like root vegetables like sweet potatoes or just regular potatoes, right? So you just see like that kind of lineage of just real foods that throughout the day. And then snacks can be things like fresh fruit or, some guacamole and carrots and, some nuts and maybe some dried fruits. But the whole theme is kind of the same throughout the day. Or you can get into things like smoothies or fresh juices to kind of carry you over. So it's endless possibilities there. And hopefully that paints a little bit of a picture.
So what are the kind of the fears that clients have around going whole foods that you help them to alleviate? So like a fear of being hungry all the time, a fear of no energy, a fear of it being difficult, a fear of it being
Yeah.
more expensive. Can you kind of go through the common misconceptions around a whole foods diet?
Well, yeah, there's the certain thing that they'll be missing out, they'll be starving, and I tell them right off the bat, like, listen, I don't think anyone eats more than me. Like, I love eating, I'm a foodie, so you're in good hands with that. I'll probably encourage you to eat more, right? And so there's that, and I think that's a relief to hear and definitely to experience. Options is another thing. They feel like, well, if they feel limited or they think they're limited where they're not at all. Especially when we start talking more and more about different options and even on that kind of satisfying that sweet side. We talked about something like banana and ice cream. They're like, wow, this is so good. I can't believe it's healthy. Like that's always great to hear, and they're excited about that because that's something they felt like they would have to sacrifice, their sweet tooth. So that's always good. The expensive thing, I find actually people are saving money. I think there's a stigma around, eating healthy is expensive. I don't know. Maybe it's because they feel like they have to go to Whole Foods and buy like all these top of the line, I don't know, supplements and foods. And that's not the case at all. I think, in fact, you're buying real foods. You're cooking more. You're having leftovers. And I'm a big fan of leftovers and stretching out meals and cooking once, eating twice. So I feel like you end up saving money, right? So all these kind of objections or kind of fears, they don't really stand. And I think people are always relieved when they're like, yeah, this is actually easier than I thought. And it can even go out to eat too. That's another big one too. For the most part, okay, you can do a pretty good job of getting by eating real foods. I mean, it's a little more challenging, but as long as you stick to the kind of the basics, you could do pretty well. You might want to change up some of your restaurant choices here and there, but I feel like those options are getting a lot better for many of us as well.
Very cool, very cool. And how about energy levels? What do you notice when? Because now let's say someone goes, okay, I'm so used to eating all this sugar. I'm so used to getting my 3 o'clock, Snickers bar. I'm so used to going to, getting the $20 latte at Starbucks. Like I'm so used to having
Right.
alcohol, and I know you're not saying cut everything out. You're really focusing on crowding out. So you're,
Yeah.
the more you increase the whole foods, the more kind of people stop becoming interested in the chemical foods. Also, what I noticed, and this is what really freaked me out, is that there was a phase in my life. I newly had sort of like after college, right? Like I moved out of my parents' house. I'm actually moved to the States. I had a really great job. And had this freedom, and so of course I'm like I can choose whatever food I want to eat, and I went towards the fried foods. I ate Kentucky Fried Chicken for the first time in my life. I had access to a lot of fried foods, a lot of that was really delicious to me at the time, right? So I'm in my early 20s, and now I'm eating all this fast food because I didn't, that just wasn't in. I didn't have access to fast food where I grew up in the moving to the States. It was like everywhere.
Right.
And so that tasted really good to me at the time, and vegetables didn't. And then now I've obviously years later made this transition. Going back to that food tastes really
Yeah.
gross. Like
Yeah.
I am so surprised that the chemical, once in a blue moon, I'll have like a, at Halloween, I have like a whatever kind of Halloween chocolate, or, you name, like generic chocolate bar, like Snickers or whatever. And it tastes disgusting to me. It's too sweet. It
Yeah.
actually, all I taste is sugar. I don't taste any other flavor profiles in it. Whereas, what I noticed now, because of so long in eating more of a whole foods diet, is that when I eat a vegetable, and you think one vegetable like carrot has all these flavor profiles, like it tastes different when you
Yeah.
first put it in your mouth to when you swallow, and it's there's depth to the flavor. Like even broccoli has depth to the flavor,
Right.
whereas these chocolate bars are just loaded with sugar and don't really have a lot of flavor to them. And I can't believe that used to taste good to me, and now it really tastes bland. But we kind of our bodies are tricked into being addicted to sugar, right? So
Yep.
so so for those who don't realize how much sugar they're consuming, how much processed food they're consuming, and they know they navigate towards the processed and the sugar food for energy, because maybe they have been crashing for so long that they think they need it, like they can't survive without it. So for those people who are really afraid that they're going to lose out on energy, how do you help them transition?
Yeah, I mean, they have false energy, right? Like that's not energy, and you can just see in their day. I'm like, do you have consistent energy throughout the day, nice and steady, not sky high, not dipping, and they always say no. They're always like, well, no, I have like this, I'll get energy, and it's like, and then I get this dip, I need to crash or take a nap. So right there, that it's not really working for them, right? Or they're super stressed out because maybe their energy is so high and everything's, they have like adrenal fatigue and things like that. So that's always by adding, some of this real food, and explain to them that, like, listen, there's more to this food than just, like, yeah, eat your fruits and vegetables, but there's like information involved in this food, right? Like these are living entities, right? That these are living things, whereas the food they're eating before is dead food, right? So,
Mm.
so vibrant food equals vibrant health, right? So it's just, you're taking on this energy of this food. It's more than just kind of like, well, yeah, there's vitamins in it, vitamins, A through whatever, minerals and sulfur and magnesium and calcium. Like those are kind of scientific words, but to our body, those are exactly, that's information that it knows exactly what to do with. It knows exactly where to plug that in. And now you're kind of working like as a well-oiled piece of machinery, right? Whereas before you're just kind of, it's like you're putting diesel gas in an unleaded car, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it might run, but not very far, right? So that's when you kind of change up what you're giving the body. Now it's like it's all systems go. It knows exactly what to do with the food you're giving it to because it's living food, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and the first sign is energy. That's the first sign. Like yeah, I feel good. It's not like the sky high like Red Bull energy, but it's nice consistent energy. You notice people are saying like, you don't have to take naps anymore, or like I feel more rested when I get out of bed in the morning. I'm not like my head's not like crashing on the floor, after a day of work. So it's nice and just steady, and that's how it should be.
Who would benefit from a whole foods diet? Like, I know this is a very broad question. Maybe you could give examples of the kinds of things your clients have discovered by going on a whole foods diet. Like, what kind of health conditions have they reversed, or what kind of benefits have they noticed?
Right, right. Yeah. Well, I think everyone can benefit from a whole foods diet. I think that's our natural state. I think that's how we should be eating. Um, but as for experience, I've seen things like people with IBS issues when we change their diet. I think seen things with diabetes, reversing. That's a food related illness. I've seen benefits from things like autoimmune issues like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. Um, I've seen things like heart conditions, where their markers now are amazing if they're suffering heart attacks. Obviously, things like weight loss and energy, are common things. I've worked with people with, even skin issues like psoriasis and eczema. Even some dealing with cancers as well, right? I mean, my mom's an example of that. But these are just some of them, and three of the major kind of chronic diseases right now: diabetes, heart disease, and cancer are all food related illnesses right now. So that means
Mm,
by even switching up our diet, okay, even changing it to eating even 70% healthy or cleaner or real foods, most of the time, we can make a drastic change in our health, right? So um, that should be a big sign right there that we need to start looking what's on our plate because it's definitely contributing to, you know, these rise in just kind of illnesses right now.
hmm. I love that you pointed that out. That the major diseases right now are food related.
Yeah. Yeah.
That that it's that we've moved in only a few generations have moved so far away from what what we were designed to eat. Like you think of the Leave It to Beaver style, like what would be on Leave It to Beaver's dinner table. You'd have a roast, you'd have some roast
Right, right, right.
vegetables, right? You'd maybe have a sweet have some mashed
Yeah.
potatoes,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you could look at it and identify every ingredient, right? Whereas now you take out pizza or Kentucky Fried Chicken or just to think about the what is on, and you see those pictures of I've seen these memes on it's sort of like the Fed Up movie where
Right,
you
right,
see these
right.
memes of the average American family and their week's worth of
Yeah.
food laid
Yeah.
out,
Right.
and you cannot identify. Like, think about what's in your actually what's really fun is go to a grocery store and just look at what's in people's carts, because
Yeah.
that's what they're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
eat this week, right? I love doing that at Costco. I mentioned this before on the show that my husband and I, when we went gluten free, it's almost been 7 years since we've been gluten free. When we first went gluten free, we had this like giant aha moment. That was our first sort of step towards less processed, more whole foods, because we had to figure out what to eat instead. So it's like, okay, well, here, let's just do more vegetables. But
Right. Right.
um at Costco, we would look at someone's cart and then look up and see if they looked like they were healthy or not. And
Right.
9 times out of 10, if the person at Costco, if their cart, because there's so much organic at Costco now, and it varies from the Costco to Costco, but our Costco is just like full with organic food. And if you look down, and lots of vegetables, if you look down, you see whole foods, so lots of vegetables, like maybe some meat, maybe some dairy or not, but the more vegetables we saw in the cart, and then we'd look up, the healthier the person looked. And then when we look at someone's cart and it was frozen pizzas and fries and all the packaged cereals and cookies and all the different packaged foods, and then you look up and it's not necessarily that they'd always be overweight, but they would have like almost like they were dead inside. Like you look at their eyes and their eyes weren't glowing, their skin was kind of pale, maybe they'd have a rash or they'd have some, eczema, they have some kind of sign of inflammation. They didn't look like they had healthy circulation, their eyes were really dead, and they did not look happy as people. And then the people that were pushing their cart out, so it's like their week's worth of food was more whole foods, again, doesn't necessarily always mean that the person's skinnier, but they look happier and healthier and more vibrant, and there's light in the eyes. And we see this in children too. My husband and I will see certain children that just look like walking zombies, and then you see what the parents are feeding them, and it's so sad, and then there's these other kids who we know what the parents are feeding them, and lots of vegetables included in their diet, and these kids are alive and have energy. People ask why my son is so great, because my son is so well behaved for a 2-year-old, and just really smart and really playful and really generous. And he very rarely has a meltdown, and he's very patient. Like if adults are talking, he's very patient, which is like really surprising for a 2-year-old. Right. And people say, oh, wow, your son's so amazing. Like what do you do? And we just say, we don't feed him sugar. Like we just don't feed him sugar, because I think that's a really big step, and we see it in the kids. You just borrow someone's kid and fill it with sugar and see what happens over the next 2 hours. That is what happens to our own bodies, but we kind of forget. We forget that we also go through the roller coaster of emotions and the meltdown on the inside, but we kind of blame it on our boss or blame it on our spouse, and we don't realize that we ate a bunch of sugar, and that we too are like the 2-year-olds that are going to have the meltdown if we feed them sugar. So in fact, my husband and I figured out that every single argument we've ever had was sugar related, that we either one of us was no, seriously, we were having these really weird fights early on in our relationship, and I was like, why do you act so differently? Like you're always so sweet, and then all of a sudden you're just like this bastard. Like what's going on? And I was not perfect too. And then I just stopped and I said, wait a second, what did you eat today? Like, is this food related? And it turned out he like had eaten a bunch of sugar and didn't eat any protein or any healthy fats. And so we had this thing where if we ever fought, we would just catch ourselves and we'd go eat some scrambled eggs, balance our blood sugar, and then come back 20 minutes later. And we were like, what were we arguing about? That was so weird. So we really have figured out that anytime we fight, we either had a spike in sugar, or we had a crash in sugar. We ate too much sugar and then has a low blood sugar crash. But now we have a very balanced marital status because we cut out all that crappy food out of our diet. So there's another
totally believe it.
Another reason why, it's like you should have sort of like marriage counseling as one of your bullet points, and then just take out sugar.
That'd be pretty intense, but that definitely contributes to how we feel emotionally, that's for sure.
Awesome. I love it. Well, do you have anything you'd like to share for those who are listening who are more curious about the whole foods diet? And I'm just imagining you've had so many questions about it in the past. Is there anything else we haven't covered that would really be great to cover in an episode all about eating less processed food, eating less sugar, and eating more whole foods?
Yeah, it's starting where you're at. Everyone's at different levels, and it could be a little daunting at first, but just kind of jumping in and starting where you're at, and like I said, find something that you enjoy, that's whether it be a fruit or vegetable, and start eating more of it. Start making it more part of your day, and then from there, being a little adventurous. This should be fun and exciting, and I always encourage people to try new things, because it would literally take you a lifetime to explore all the foods out there. And And when I hear people say that it's limiting, I'm like, you're doing it all wrong. Right? Because, yeah, there's just so much food out there, and I'm always exploring new foods as well, and new ways to make it and stuff like that. So, to kind of jump in there and find something that you're comfortable with, and kind of just going from there. That's really kind of where to start. And you know, obviously, like a yeah, you just want to kind of have fun with it, and finding something that you can kind of do on a consistent basis, because that's a big thing, is consistency. And that
Mm-hmm.
that definitely leads to results.
Yes, and I love the results you get, like the woman you shared that you were just helping her so that she could avoid the high blood pressure medication and the cholesterol medication. You were just helping her that way, and she ended up dropping 10 pounds
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
her body didn't need anymore.
Of course, that's how it is. Weight loss is a side effect. It shouldn't be like the goal we're trying to get to. It's just a side effect of your body doesn't need it. You
That's
know.
so awesome. Are there any other stories of success you'd like to share with us? I just love testimonials. It always gives us so much hope.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I've had clients where they've changed. Well, I actually had another gentleman. We actually just finished up last week, and he lost 50 pounds
Nice.
since we started working together. And I mean, he's actually going back to the doctors. He's dealing with sleep apnea, but we're pretty sure that maybe his numbers went down. We'll see, but yeah, he's been doing phenomenal. I've had people where they've changed careers, working with like nurses, working the overnight shift, dealing with health issues, and then they just feel so good that they've changed like career paths to a more healthier lifestyle. And people getting over, reversing things like their diabetes. And yeah, I mean, the list goes on. There's a lot. But it's enjoyable, it's to see what the possibilities are, and just seeing these people kind of make changes in their own life. um, yeah, those are the ones I could think of right now, but yeah, there's a lot.
That's awesome. And talk about the ripple effect. You help one mom improve her health, and you actually just gave these kids a healthy mom that they can
Yeah,
have around for a long time. Or
yeah,
you help this man, lose this weight, and now all of his family and friends get to have him around longer and in a healthier way. So
yeah,
that ripple effect really does take place. You are helping to touch people's lives that you'll never even know.
yeah. Yeah, it's the name of the game. Yeah, it's a great feeling. And I mean, even better is when you hear that, when you hear a parent making changes, and then their kid is getting on board too. I mean, that's the best feeling, because now you're passing down habits, to your children, and that's really what it's about.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Definitely recommend listeners check out your Facebook group, lifeinbalancetribe.com, or just search Life in Balance Tribe in Facebook. And of course, DonnieDeSanti.com, your website. Lots of great recipes. I've been staring at this Plants for Cancer with this picture of a delicious strawberry smoothie, and the entire time we've been
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, nice.
And yeah, so the links to everything you do are going to be in the show notes of today's podcasts on learntrail.com, so all the listeners can check that out. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And really, we all just need to appreciate vegetables more than what we do right now. Um, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with? Maybe, like your email list, for example. What do they receive when they go on your email list?
Yeah, so I have they'll receive like a 7-day smoothie guide. They can get that in the group too. The links in the group. I think that's DonnieDeSanti.com/smoothies. I believe that is. But they can find the link as well in the Facebook group. And yeah, I'm pretty much emailing almost on a daily basis, and if that's not for your listeners, it's okay. But I like to stay in touch with my readers, and kind of giving them tidbits, recipes, health tips, and they're short and sweet, nothing long, but it's great to kind of have that connection. And another beauty of just kind of the world we live in with social network and emailing, and yeah, just providing a lot of value. So but yeah, we'd love to have them on the list, and they can get that in the group as well.
Yeah, in the Facebook group, which, like I said, I've been following you in the Facebook group, and the amount of stuff you post, and all the, like, the quality of the stuff you post. It's almost every day I open up my I get up in the morning and I'm checking Facebook and I see there's always something from you in your group, and then there's all these people engaging with it, and you ask the funniest, most thought-provoking questions. So I just love it. I love the conversation, the constant conversation that we're having with you in that group. And so yeah, I know my listeners will enjoy it too. Good. And you're doing something right, because I kind of sit there with like Facebook envy, not in a negative way, but like in a positive way. Like, you're inspiring me. I'm kind of sitting there going, man, I wonder, like, how can I be more like Donnie DeSanti for my Facebook group, because we've got a Facebook group, which is Learn True Health. You can just go to learntruehealth.com/group or just search Learn True Health on Facebook. And I'm like, Donnie's so active and the group is so, engaged, and I'm sitting there like, maybe I post once a week, sometimes a little more, but you're really engaged. And so you're doing something right, because you're helping people kind of keep it in the back of their mind all the time. And that's really important, to help break it up so we don't get caught in the minutia of our life. And so what I like about your Facebook group is that every day you're posing that question or having that conversation with the group and helping them to stay on track, even just if they, like you said, implement one thing at a time, one new thing. If they eat just more vegetables each day, or slowly add that to their life, you're helping them to stay on track by keeping them engaged in the conversation and keeping it alive. So that's what I love. So kudos to you and what you're doing. And thank you again so much for coming on the show. Definitely want to have you back. You should come back like every year, and we could just like keep doing this and hearing about all the wonderful things that you're doing moving forward.
Nice. Yeah, I'll put it in the calendar now.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Enjoy what you heard today on your episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Did something move you, inspire you? Did you get great information that's going to change your life? Awesome. That's exactly what I'm here to do, is to help you gain your health back. Please turn around and share this. If this is something that's helped you in any way, share this with those you love. Love the Learn True Health podcast and want to support us? Awesome. You can go to takeyoursupplements.com and you can support us that way. You'll get access to amazing supplements that are just really great quality for a great price. And there'll be someone on the other end of the line to help you pick out your supplements that are right for you. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Or join our membership, learntruehealth.com/join. That's another great way to support our podcast, support our movement, and you'll be supporting yourself. Gain more information, wonderful videos, wonderful trainings, and you'll also be able to share those with those you love as well. So go to learntruehealth.com/join. Want something fun for free? Go to learntruehealth.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see where you can get our free cookbook. I spent a lot of time making it, and it was so much fun. It's really delicious, healthy recipes. And you can also get our 7-day doctor course. Right there, it's 7 days of naturopathic videos sent right to your inbox, and you can learn from top naturopaths on how to gain health naturally. So that's takeyoursupplements.com for wonderful supplements. learntruehealth.com/join to join our awesome membership, which is only open for a limited time. You can get our free healthy cookbook, and you can also get for free 7 days of wonderful naturopathic videos sent to you. Just go to learntruehealth.com and you'll see it right there on the front page. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for sharing and helping others. Let's spread this information and turn this ripple into a tidal wave.